Hello and welcome back, my friends. Welcome back to another episode. Today, I really want to break down the core reason why you can eat perfectly clean all day and still end up stood in the fridge at 9 p.m. with your hand in something that you didn't want to eat, or even maybe all across your face. Maybe just seeking so desperately for something and you can't explain it. You can't put your finger on it. It feels like the moment that you finally let go of the day and your brain can check out. Your goals go with your brain, and everything you promised yourself you wouldn't do ends up happening. And so you find yourself grabbing the foods that you swore you wouldn't eat, and now it's tomorrow's problem. While this could be a problem with the food that you're eating, for example, teeny tiny carbless meals, it's typically not going to be that. And I can tell you that from coaching hundreds of women on losing anywhere between their first 60 pounds and their last 5 stubborn pounds. I can assure you that there's one pattern, and that's your day-to-day life. Because if you think about the actual moment that you've finally fed the kids, you've answered the last work email that you did tell yourself that you'd stop answering after 6 p.m., you've maybe had a conversation with someone that left a knot in your chest. And by the time you finally sit down, your body isn't asking, what do I want to eat? Your body is actually asking you, how do I check the out right now? And food and wine are going to be your fastest exit door available to you. You know, your nervous system is the one that makes all of the choices underneath every decision that you think you're making consciously. But it's actually the missing piece in almost every weight loss program out there. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about how weight loss is not only dramatically influenced by it, it's almost predetermined by it. The influence that your nervous system has on your day-to-day actions and reactions isn't just something we can just keep sweeping under the carpet anymore, especially if you're someone who has tried to lose weight and not succeeded, not once, not twice, but multiple times. If that's you, you're not the only one. Studies show that most women by the age of 40 have attempted 140 diets. Not necessarily different diets, but they've tried 140 times. So you are not alone. And this is exactly why I chunk the nervous system into one of the 4 core pillars that you have to consider when you're working on weight loss for sustainable results. And that's working with your body, not trying to work against it. So your nervous system is your biological programming and wiring. And following a meal plan isn't going to just rewire your natural reactions. And if your natural reaction to your schedule, the people around you, their words or actions, your home, your work, if they all instigate these behaviors that you make that aren't aligned with your goals, that new diet of yours is completely useless. So understanding how the nervous system actually works is so important, not just for you to lose weight and keep it off, but also for you to achieve your optimal health, whatever that looks like for you. Optimal health is also going to come with energy, clarity, mood, some balance and equilibrium. So let me break it down really quickly for you. You've got 2 main branches. Your central nervous system, that's your brain and spinal cord, that's the command center. And there's your peripheral nervous system, which is everything branching out of that into your organs, your gut, your heart, your muscles. And within the peripheral system, you have a system called the autonomic nervous system. And this is the human version of autopilot. It is driving all the time. It's always searching for danger. It's always seeking any type of trigger that could result to a threat to your safety. So within the nervous system, we have 3 states. This is called the polyvagal theory. Your body isn't just either calm or stressed, which we often think is the case. Polyvagal theory suggests that we move, often effortlessly, and sometimes with force, between these 3 main states. So there's one state which is your rest and digest, also known as the ventral vagal state. So this is the only state where your body is actually happy and ready to digest food slowly, to regulate your blood sugar properly, to let you feel satisfied by a normal portion size. But then there's your fight or flight state. This floods you with cortisol and adrenaline. And that state was built for you to outrun immediate danger, not live in chronically, and not for you to have to rush up, take the kids to school, get to work, run late, come home, feed the animals, feed yourself, do all the chores, all the cleaning. Your nervous system does not cope very well with the modern day that we live in. But then there's this third state, and a lot of women don't actually realize that they can be living in this state for a short period of time. And this is essentially freeze or shut down response. This is called the dorsal vagal response. You're not panicking here. You just feel kind of numb, flat, disconnected, maybe like you're going through the motions of life, right? Which is often what's probably happening when you catch yourself saying things like, I don't even know why I just did that. So when you're chronically activated in the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight state, and most women are in this state from waking, you release cortisol, which is essential for survival. We need cortisol. We need cortisol to wake us up. But quite often we will wake up with cortisol naturally to the light. Fantastic. But then the lives that we live mean that we are chronically activating this cortisol because we are stressed, we're running late, we're stuck in traffic, our phone is pinging off, right? Now, when we are in a state of elevated cortisol, quite often our hunger, our appetite is suppressed. It is pushed to the side. Sometimes it drives you towards comfort food, not necessarily for fuel, but comfort food that is high in sugar, fat, fast energy foods, because your body in that state genuinely believes that it's under threat. And it will want the quickest way possible to get out of that situation. Now, we're not eating when we're stressed. We're not eating when we're running away from danger, right? We're not eating when we're running away from threat. So our body has very much grown accustomed to using food as the gateway, as the bridge between you feeling and being stressed versus you feeling and being in a relaxed response. So your nervous system has learned this. It's like, when we eat, it makes us feel good. It releases some serotonin and it actually calms us down. So when you're craving something processed, something really sweet or really salty, maybe in the evening specifically, that's not you lacking willpower. You burned out of that throughout the day. That's not the willpower. That's your nervous system sending alarm bells to you saying, babe, we can't stay in this state forever. We need to chill and you need to do this now. So those alarm bells are the fire alarm. It is ringing loud and proud because it knows that you can and you have the opportunity to go grab food because the kitchen cupboards are just there, right? If you were in the middle of a desert and you saw an oasis, your body wouldn't say, let's just sit here and stare at it. It would say, run. Go towards it, right? So when we are finally around calorie-dense foods, it makes it so easy and feels so compulsive for you to run towards those foods. And now we're running towards the foods. We're shoving it in as quickly as possible. So you might not eat anything throughout the day. You might have a really healthy day, but then the moment nighttime comes along, your natural instincts are kicking in to shove everything in your mouth. Not because you don't have willpower, not because you suck at dieting, not because the plan that you're on was specifically wrong, but because you had a nervous system that was so exhausted and done with being in that fight or flight mode that it is telling you to activate the parasympathetic, the chilled out state where you can sit, rest, digest, heal, and connect with other people. But the stress response was supposed to be triggered by a life-threatening emergency, not by your phone and your inbox and your to-do list, because they have the same reaction, right? So our wiring is not designed to live in today's world. So a meal plan, a diet program doesn't consider your nervous system. I don't know many, if any, other programs out there that actually work for your nervous system. Yet it is the biggest influencer to how you react and respond to life, to external stimuli, 100% of the time. So you can hand a stressed and dysregulated woman the most perfect plate, the most perfectly balanced meal in the world. But come 7 o'clock at night, her body's already decided it needs this relief, not chase after some goals that are like nice to have. So now you've had a busy day, you get home, you have your dinner, and now you're gorging, you're binging, you can't stop eating, or it just feels like there's something nagging in the back of your head. And there's a noise, there's a pull, like a gravitational pull towards the kitchen, and it's saying, just eat, just eat, just eat, right? So now you eat, now you're giving in, thinking that there's something wrong with you, when actually you knew what you needed to do. You know what you need to eat. You just struggle with the follow through. And maybe you can never quite understand why you can't stick to the plan. And that's because while you think that you're making conscious choices, you're kind of not, because the autopilot is running the show for you. And diet programs, they don't think your nervous system is relevant, but to me, it's pretty fucking relevant. Because if your nervous system is jacked up, you're wired, you're constantly triggered, how the hell are you supposed to fight those cravings over and over and over again all day long? That is exhausting. That feels impossible. And look, women are met with this unprecedented amount of pressure and expectation to show up, to parent, to be a good wife, to have life all together. And women are expected to appear like they've got their shit together every single day. But you're managing everyone else's schedule before your own. You're the one who remembers the dentist appointments and packed lunch and the birthday card. You're holding the emotional burden of your entire house down. And there's this unspoken expectation that you should be able to do all of that and still show up calm and still make good choices, right? And still look like someone that you'll probably never actually be, not because you can't get weight loss, but because you're not that ideal version of someone who is held up by society as the perfect fit or the perfect woman. But nobody ever taught you that carrying that load isn't normal, and it has physiological and psychological costs. And if you aren't taking intentional steps to shift into the fat burning mode, where your digestion is firing, where you feel level-headed and clear and your moods are balanced, and your energy is sky high and your body is repairing and you're healing quickly, then food and alcohol will be the only two things that will actually switch you off, even if it's just for those 10 minutes. Now, I've coached women who don't even realize they're stressed and they're running on empty, they're running on fumes, and they don't realize that their nervous system is still seeking recovery. But then I've also coached women who are saying things like, I know I need to stop stressing, but, and they will say, I'm busy or work's crazy, or I've just got loads of responsibilities on right now. I'm going through a lot of shit right now. So if you hear yourself saying any of those things, they are your alarm bells. That's your nervous system calling the shots. And if that's you, you'll likely know what you need. You know what you need to do, but you're just not doing it. You're just not following through. So if that sounds like you, that phrase alone will tell me that your body's not in a state where it can actually access the knowledge and the wisdom and the whereabouts to put in a strategic plan for you to achieve your goals. Because when you're in the sympathetic fight or flight state, that part of your brain that's responsible for planning and forward thinking and following through on your goals, that's your prefrontal cortex. And quite literally, it deprioritizes that part of your brain in favor for faster, more reactive responses, like running fast and avoiding the next hurdle. Not the hurdle after it, just the next hurdle. So you're not choosing to act like this. You're not lazy. You're not choosing from a state that isn't built to think about your goals. It's not that you don't want your goals enough. It doesn't mean that you don't have enough willpower, but it does mean that your body is probably finding the best solution that it knows. And yes, you might notice that you eat well all day, only for it to fall apart in the evening. That's not because this clock has some magical powers, or the fridge has some magical powers that comes alive at 9 p.m. That's you having spent all day in low-grade sympathetic state with no real recovery time or opportunity to shift back into the parasympathetic state. And so that's your body screaming. And by the evening, your energy's tanked, your cortisol has gone through the floor, So the moment that the kids are down, the laptop's shut, your nervous system finally has that window to demand relief, and it demands bloody loudly. Until it has that moment to demand, it will hold off. And so if you feel exhausted, overworked, like you've got too many plates spinning, like everyone else's needs come before yours, and you get to the evening and you can't switch off without food or drink. Maybe the food and drink that you're reaching for, you already know is junk food. You're not confused about that part. You know that it's not going to help you get to your goals, but there's this undefined restlessness that shows up first, a sort of like an itchy, I can't sit still in my own skin feeling, right? Your skin's crawling because you just want to grab the fridge or raid the cupboards. Food is it is simply the fastest way that you've found to switch from one state to the next. And ironically, women are actually frequently complimented on their capacity to stay calm and collected while they hold down this burning fort of people without their own healthy outlet. And so women are told, you're so capable, you have your shit together, you handle so much. But what people don't see is that you are like a duck of water. Everything seems calm and collected on the top, but underneath your legs are kicking. And your only way to get through is your late night survival instinct. And that is the moment that you get an opportunity to, you run to the cupboards for food. And there's nothing shameful about that. But you're quite literally feeding the shame, the distrust, the distaste, and the judgment that you will thereafter continue to beat yourself down with every single day after it happens. And it isn't just a once off. Women who are chronically stressed, who have a lot of triggers in their life, maybe some old programming that continues to trigger their emotional responses or their physical responses every single day. Women who have this struggle are always going to want to run towards food because, again, it's just being the only vehicle to get you from one state to the next. And that's it, right? Some people choose drugs, some people choose alcohol, some people choose food, some people choose sex, some people choose porn, some people choose shopping, some people choose scrolling, right? It doesn't matter essentially what it is as long as it's safe and as long as it's legal. It doesn't matter what it is still the vehicle for you to switch off and downregulate. Now, women like Kerry, who's a client of mine, right? She was wired in survival mode for most of her adult life for various reasons, which are perfectly explainable, makes a lot of sense, comes from childhood, right? And that led to decades of dieting. The dieting led to decades of fearing the scale, living in anxiety, the what ifs. And she told me that she would be stuffing her face in private and then jumping on the hate and the stress bandwagon afterwards because she knew that being plant-based was healthy. She knew that she wanted to do that. She followed all the recipe creators and all the experts, but she just couldn't stick to her word for this unbeknown reason. And so instead of shoving her into a calorie deficit and saying, right, that's what you need, we focused on changing the narrative. We started rewiring how she felt and reacted to her environment, what her responses were. We increased the awareness around her common triggers. And this helped her shift not only 8 pounds of some very stubborn weight that she'd been carrying for years, but really the real win for her was that she stopped spiraling. And the moment that she felt herself off balance, she took a step back, took a breath, and was able to recalibrate without just going on that straight downwards trajectory. And so now she recalibrates. She gets on the scale with curiosity and not dread. And she's able to get back on track without having to dive into this crazy deficit or a program or quick weight loss challenge that's just going to give her some fast results but doesn't actually work on the nervous system, her reactions, and her triggers. So if there's one thing I want you to take from this episode, is that your difficulty in following through on your health and weight loss goals, it's really not about willpower. It's not that you just need more discipline or that you don't want it enough. It's that it's more deeply rooted than you just being told what to eat. Because if you notice your evenings falling apart late at night, maybe cravings for something processed or really salty or really sweet, maybe you flip-flop between the two. Maybe sometimes you get home from a busy day and you have this indescribable need to just shove food in your face, and you know that you're not hungry, right? But you just can't put your finger on it. You could be ignoring a significant part of what makes you amazingly human and what's kept you alive so far. And that's regulating your nervous system regularly, frequently, recognizing your triggers, working through emotions. And all of the meal plans in the world, all the workout programs, all the weight loss shake subscriptions, they are all useless without addressing what's actually triggering your nervous system every single day without you realizing. Because it really is the autopilot to your life. So if that sounds like you, I hear you. I get you, which is why I have decided to put together a crazy offer with over £1,000 worth of bonuses for free this week only. So I want you to DM me on Facebook or Instagram. The links are below this video with the word birthday. It's limited to 5 spaces because of the amount of one-to-one that I'm pouring into this one offer is exceptional. And once it's gone, it's gone. So if any part of what I have described to you today felt like you feel like you might be falling apart in the evenings, coping well on the outside, but like a duck on water and chronically flapping your feet underneath that water and using food to check out, DM me the word birthday. I'll send you the details and we might be able to get your nervous system and everything else that's been sitting underneath that actually sorted for once. I really hope this video was helpful. Please let me know if you feel like this is you, if you feel like I'm talking to you, and make sure you give this a like, make sure you hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.